Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, before we begin, I'd like to provide you with a very quick snapshot of what it took to bring us here today together. 500 days of preparation, 150 CTBTO staff working tirelessly behind the scenes, 2,000 registered participants, 800 abstracts, 5 days, that's of course the length of this conference, 5 themes, shaping our conversations, all under one banner: verification, today, tomorrow, together. A very warm welcome to the 8th edition of CTBTO Science and Technology Conference, SNT 2025, here hosted in the Grand Festsaal of the Hofburg Palace, which we know has witnessed history, and today is once again welcoming our wonderful diplomats, scientists, experts from various fields. Now, my name is Sanam Chantier. I'm part of CTBTO's public information team, and I have the absolute honor of hosting you through the high-level plenary. Now, what does that look like? We start off with some opening and welcoming remarks. We move on to the keynote and special addresses, and then we have a little something special for you. I'm trying to remember the language I used with my stage manager earlier. It's a musical performance with a little bit of a twist, something different to what you might be used to. And then we'll end with an all-waited for panel discussion, 90 to 100 IMS completion through collaboration. Now, I'm looking at this room, and I think the latest figure that I was given is we have around 1,000 to 1,200 of you in this hall, and I'd like to take a special moment to welcome our students all the way from Beijing's Moonshot Academy. And, if I may say so, on the other side of the spectrum, we have the one and only Dr. Robert Kemmerich, a 90-year-old retired colleague from the US National Data Center, a longtime friend of the CTBT, Together, they represent a bridge across generations. Also, you might notice something to the side. I'd like to talk about accessibility very briefly. For the first time ever, the high-level plenary will be interpreted in international sign language and, of course, all of CTBTO's official languages. So we're trying to make this event as open and as accessible as possible. Now, before I hand the baton over to our special speakers, I'd like to very quickly give you an overview of what the week looks like. It's not all about the high-level plenary, as important as that is. We have 5 days, 5 themes shaping the conversations. It started yesterday with what we're calling a soft launch. Online day, we had keynotes on the earthquakes in Myanmar and Camp Kacha. We had oral presentations for our remote participants. Today is, of course, the high-level day, and I really hope that with this segment, we can certainly set the tone for the remainder of the day. Tomorrow, we have Quantum Day. We'll be exploring the frontiers of technology and especially looking at quantum-led advances. Thursday is what we're calling Together Day, a day of celebrating collaborations, partnerships, joint initiatives, and Friday, Future Day, how we can all continue working together. And a little teaser for that, we also have the closing plenary, which we're trying to make a little bit different to the usual program. So we would love to invite as many of you as possible to join us. We might even have a few surprises in store for you. Now, for those of you that have been to SNT before, you will know that, again, as magnificent as this hall might be, it's not confined to this room. Every corner of the Hofburg Palace comes to life. Yes, here in the Festsaal, we'll have that high level, we'll have panel discussions, we'll have keynotes, but in the Ceremoniensaal and the Wintergarten, we'll find the e-poster halls full of innovative research. These I've been pronouncing the names of because my German's not tip-top. The Forum and Prince Eugen Saal are hosting our oral sessions and side events throughout the week. And on the Parterre, the ground floor, is where it gets really immersive. And I promised our OSI director sitting in the front, please go and check it out for yourselves. A real experience seeing what it looks like to be inside an on-site inspection. VR experiences for international monitoring system and international data center. There's a lot for everyone, so go try it out. And please remember, your vote really counts. We have e-posters, we have oral presentations, and you can either vote for them at the kiosks or on your SNT apps. The winners will be picking up their awards on Friday during the closing plenary, which will be handed out by Ambassador Karl Hallegaard, who's the head of the EU delegation to the international organizations in Vienna, and our very own, I can see some of them here, CTBTO division directors. Now, without further ado, I think I've spoken way too much already. I'd like to bring in the head of my organization, my boss, Executive Secretary Dr. Robert Floyd. He's a scientist and policy leader with decades of experience, and we've all seen that under his leadership, there has been a very fresh momentum for treaty ratifications. There's been great drive so that we can build up, sustain, and strengthen our all-important verification system. He's even found the time to launch a few initiatives, including NDCs for All, ensuring equitable access to our data for every single one of our state signatories, hopefully by the time it comes to a close. Dr. Floyd always says, yes, technology provides us with the tools, but it's the people, it's you that give those tools meaning. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Floyd to the stage.
Good morning. Good morning. Isn't it wonderful to be here in this amazing hall? But before I start the speech and do what diplomats should do and address you with great honor, can we just give a round of applause to the team of people from the CTBTO that have made this possible? To Pierrick and the team. Amazing job. They are such a team. It's the whole organization working together. So, excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, it's the 6th of August, 1945 in Hiroshima. A bright summer's morning, 13-year-old Shigeru Oriman, he's excited. His mother has packed his lunchbox. It includes special potatoes. He's grown them from seed himself. His mother later finds the charred lunchbox near his body. In July 1945 came the first fateful nuclear test in New Mexico. Then, just 3 weeks later, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And we've just marked the 80th anniversary of these events. I had the privilege to attend the commemorations in Japan. Shigeru's lunchbox is there in a museum. His lunch, never eaten. 80 years on from those events, it's a good time for us to take a moment to reflect. The CTBTO's first gathering of this sort took place in 2006. Not yet on this scale, but even then, some 200 scientists from around the world. And I was just wondering, is there anybody here today that was at the 2006 meeting? If you were, can you put your hand up? I can't see, so, oh, I see one down here. One down here. Any others that were here in 2000? Another one here. Let's give them a round of applause. And to the Austrian foreign minister, yes, it's one of your ambassadors that put his hand up, right? He deserves another promotion. But the first full official S&T conference wasn't until 2011. Things have grown. Back then, only 800 participants. One of my predecessors, Tibor Toth, he talked about the exciting changes at the CTBTO. He recalled how in 2009, the CTBTO had done its job in monitoring the second of the North Korean nuclear tests, and how CTBTO was looking to do even better with lots of change. The international monitoring system at that point was 80% complete. Far better global communications infrastructure were on the way. New software for processing noble gas data. Many states now had national data centers accessing CTBTO data for the very first time. People, technology, coming together to deliver on our noble cause, strengthening our verification capabilities, and honoring our responsibilities. All that was 14 years ago. So much has happened since then. Even since the Science and Technology Conference in 2023, just 2 years ago, we have a new interactive radionuclide review tool. And we've improved our infrasound technology. This year's S&T is the 8th in this series. It's attracted the largest ever level of engagement, 2,088 registrants about an hour ago. Nearly 900 abstracts were sent in for consideration, dozens of disciplines represented: seismology, noble gas monitoring, infrasound, oceanography, machine learning, data science. Too many to list you all. People want to take part, to explore, to learn, to share ideas. Using CTBTO data for studying our soil, our climate, our seas, our marine life, the air we breathe, protecting people from natural disasters. All this while getting better and better at our core responsibility, monitoring for nuclear tests. How did we get here? Many of you know the history. How there were over 2,000 nuclear weapons tests before the CTBT was open for signature in 1996. So how can we stop testing once and for all? We can stop it by ruling out testing in secret, by bringing together diplomacy and science in a way never attempted before. Good intentions weren't enough. The diplomats negotiating the treaty had to assure their national leaders that the system the treaties were set up really would detect all nuclear tests. The scientists knew that these systems had to be both trusted and trustworthy, without fail, and they did their job. These S&T conferences celebrate that unique success. What has that meant in practice? Let me give you two examples. Once upon a time, our international monitoring system network, it didn't exist. But it had to be made to exist, otherwise the treaty couldn't be agreed. So back in the 1990s, scientists faced one huge practical issue, and that was communications bandwidth. How much data could be streamed to a yet-to-be-established international data center? These days, we stream to Vienna 36 gigabytes of data per day. The original aim was using the best available technology, and it was really ambitious, 3.1 megabytes, not gigabytes, megabytes per day. 3.1 megabytes? That's 10,000 times less data per day than today. You may wonder, how did anything get done with that limited bandwidth? Well, at this S&T, we have three people who can answer that very question. We have Victoria Wancha, we have Rodolfo Consol and Paul Richards. So go to their session to hear a little bit about the history and the early days. They helped design the IMS using the 1990s technology. They'll be here on Friday's Future Day to tell us about the technical and the operational challenges that they faced and how the international expert team solved them. Second example, we at the CTBTO are rigorous in making sure that our data meets verification and monitoring requirements. All the data the International Monitoring System collects is available to all the state signatories, and thereby to the scientific community that many of you represent here today. But why exactly is all that data so useful? Again, people, technology, responsibilities. Go back to the 1990s again, to the group of scientific experts. They made some highly technical but really bold decisions about archiving and storing CTBTO data. Thanks to them, all the data gathered since then is both stable and searchable, even after many updates. Events today can be compared robustly with events 5, 10, even 20 years ago. This is why our database is a global research resource like no other. Other things to look out for at this year's S&T. We all know that the IMS is amazing, right, surely? It's amazing? Good. The treaty plans for 321 stations and 16 laboratories across the globe. We now have 307 facilities. In fact, a new one in China was added just last month, and there's more to come. More than 90% complete now. Don't you want to visit a few of those stations to see them in action? Sometimes in really harsh and remote locations. We can't bring you to our monitoring stations, but we can bring some of our monitoring stations to you. This S&T conference has an exciting virtual reality facility. Put on those VR goggles, look like a real geek, find yourself next to a couple of IMS stations, look around at them, sense the scale. It's impressive. Look out for all this and more on Thursday, Together Day. Another exhibit at this year's this year shows you what goes on inside an on-site inspection tent and also outside of it, another VR exhibition. Just the sort of tent that we've got, just the kind of arrangements we've got for our integrated field exercise 2026 that will be conducted next year. So, how has the world of science changed in the 116 weeks since S&T 2023? One obvious answer: the explosion of so-called artificial intelligence systems and other options. Large language models, machine learning, generative AI, AI chatbots, even quantum science. These technologies are transforming how vast data sets are processed. We can dig deeper and deeper into more and more data. The potential for our work is obvious, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow on Quantum Day. But once again, it's all about being responsible and getting it right. Are we analyzing the right things? Are we analyzing real things? When are intriguing new patterns just coincidences? How to tell? That's why at the CTBTO, our final validators aren't machines or software. They're human experts. That's why we're realistic and transparent about the technologies we adopt. We're working together with our state signatories to make sure that the innovations that we use are right for us. That's why redesigning our infrasound system took some 6 years. Why developing new detection capability tools, NetVisa, a waveform network association software, has taken time, spanning several S&Ts. No room for mistakes. No room for miscalculations. No shortcuts. But that doesn't mean we're slow to react. Another exciting thing about this year's S&T, our keynote about the 2025 Kamchatka earthquake, I think it was actually held yesterday. That event occurred just over 5 weeks ago, and already we've been able to meet and exchange about it. That's fantastic. My big point today, it's all about people and it's all about technology. It's all about taking responsibility and making good decisions. It's also different today. We can't imagine how different it will be by the time we get together for S&T 2055. And that is thanks to the scientific and technological advances that so many of you are here today helping to bring about. This conference doesn't do false modesty. We're dealing with very big things. There are enormous ramifications for our world's peace and security when CTBT shows that an event is a nuclear test or is not a nuclear test. We saw this just last year. In October last year, 2 small earth tremors shook northern Iran. Within minutes, social media rumors were racing around the world saying a nuclear test by Iran. We got to work. 40 different IMS stations from as far away as Canada and Mongolia detected those events. We analyzed the data. We shared it with all of the state signatories. And 2 things were clear. There was no nuclear explosion signature. And the data was consistent with historical earthquakes in that area of northern Iran. We established hard scientific facts by using meticulous methodology. And we cut right through all of the rumors and disinformation, and the world knew what had happened. CTBTO quickly helped reduce global tensions. That's our job. Since the CTBT opened for signature in 1996, fewer than a dozen tests. From 2,000 tests before the treaty to less than a dozen. A success story like no other. For global diplomacy, for global science, for global responsibility. Our 2025 international scene. Too many tensions, too much conflict. The tone and trend of international security discourse, frustrated, negative, even pessimistic. So different from the optimism of the early 1990s, striking global deals for the common good. The 1970s and the 1980s saw nuclear tests almost every week. A return to all that would be political and moral disaster. Our treaty stands in the way of that disaster. Most countries in the world have signed and ratified it. The splendid global scientific and diplomatic community represented here in the Hofburg and joining us online, you all should be proud. You're making a global difference. Here's a date for your diaries. The 14th of January next year, 2026. Just 18 weeks away. When we get to the 14th of January without a nuclear test, the world will have set a new record. The longest period without one single test since that very first Trinity test in New Mexico in 1945. What a way to start 2026, the year marking our treaty's 30th anniversary. Imagine if we extend that record, not by weeks, not by months, but by years, to S&T in 2035, 2045, or beyond that. The power of together, people and technology. The power of getting it right, ingenious, ambitious, and above all, responsible. Those commemorative gatherings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki last month were profoundly disturbing and, for me, very deeply moving. And yet I felt uplifted by the commitment of young people that I met. Born so long after those dreadful events, yet so committed to ensuring that while Hiroshima was the first, Nagasaki will forever be the last. That is our shared responsibility. That's what we owe to the memory of Shigeru Orimen, the boy with his precious lunchbox. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we all agree that was a powerful, energetic way to kick off S&T 2025. Now it gives me great pleasure to invite our first high-level speaker to the stage from our host country, Austria. And without their generous award, we know that this event would not have been possible. Ms. Beate Meinl-Reisinger has served as Austria's Minister of European and International Affairs since March 2025. Ms. Beate, thank you so much for being here with us. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This is a very impressive crowd I see here in this wonderful Festsaal. I talked to Dr. Floyd when I entered the room that I rarely see this room with seating places, but more with dancing people, dancing to waltz. And the last time I've been here, I listened to a concert of Eros Ramazzotti, but I feel the same energy right in the room. So dear Executive Secretary, Dr. Floyd, Excellencies, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen. As Foreign Minister of Austria, the host country of the CTBTO, I would like to extend to you all, and especially to the scientists who have traveled here from all over the world, a very warm welcome in Vienna. I must say that I'm really impressed about the sheer number of people attending this wonderful conference, and I hope to see you in 2 years again here in Vienna with more good news to come than what Dr. Floyd said to you. We are a proud host of the CTBTO, that's true. The treaty has established a strong international norm against nuclear testing, and the organization has demonstrated its value, its importance, and its capabilities time and again. The CTBTO monitoring system, and I'm looking forward to seeing this virtual reality thing downstairs later, is a scientific and technological marvel. It is truly impressive that more than 90% of this worldwide monitoring system has already been realized. The global network of stations in all parts of the world ensures that no nuclear test would go unnoticed, and it provides numerous other civilian and scientific benefits. Benefits for us all, for all human beings. Benefits that no country could obtain on its own. This example of cooperation is more important today than ever, as we witness that multilateralism is being challenged on so many fronts. I really like the choice of your conference themes, especially the Earth as a complex system. It reflects how science sees our world, not as separated and isolated pieces, but as interconnected and often really complicated whole. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, international politics today can be just as complicated and difficult to navigate. Geopolitical tensions are on the rise, with several ongoing conflicts and many more crises, with the risk of escalation. Climate change and other systematic problems compound these challenges. These mechanisms of international cooperation built to manage such situations are not working well. We are confronted with a world in a polycrisis. What is obvious to you, the scientific community, is that such a level of complexity can only be addressed through cooperation. Unfortunately, the view is not universally shared among politicians. We see grave breaches of international law, nationalist tendencies, and loss of trust amongst nations across the world. And by the way, also a lot of loss of trust against scientists or science. These are troubling developments which risk leading us to a future where power prevails over principle. We need to oppose such developments and insist that the ordering principle for a world that is as complex as ours must be international law and international cooperation. One of the central elements of the polycrisis are nuclear weapons that pose an existential threat to the survival of humanity. Nuclear risks are on the rise. And let me now go off my lines to take here, or my speech. I have 3 daughters. And I've said this several times before, but maybe this is a story to tell you. Some 1 or 2 years ago, I came home quite early and I listened to my now 16-year-old daughter talking to her best friend, and they're both like kind of mathematic nerds, about the probability or eventuality that the world will come to an end. Would it be more possible to have the end due to a nuclear threats or to war or to overpopulation or whatever? And I listened to them, and I thought, oh my God, like when I was young, when I was growing up, I was a so-called child of the end of history. And I was looking into the future that was always promising to be more bright than the present. And now I'm listening to my daughter, and I do not get the feeling anymore that they look in the future with a profound belief of trust that it is going to be better than the present or the past. So this is our duty, and this is why we're talking about the necessity of the CTBTO. Nuclear risks are on the rise. A growing and compelling body of scientific evidence underscores that the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons would be graver, more complex and more global that previously understood. Similarly, the risks associated with nuclear weapons are also more complex. From a rational perspective, it is clear that reliance on the threat of global destruction cannot be a sustainable way to ensure peace. A paradigm shift away from nuclear weapons is needed. Austria, together with many states and other stakeholders, has been promoting such a paradigm shift for a long time. Among those, Ambassador Alexander Kment, who raised his hands, who has attended the conference in 2006. He dedicated his literally whole life to this topic. Clearly, it is politically difficult to achieve this, especially in today's global situation. But it is necessary, urgent, and I believe possible. Bringing the CTBT into legal force and putting an end to nuclear test explosions once and for all is of the key pillars of achieving this shift. 80 years after the first nuclear test, we owe it to those who bore and often continue to bear the consequences of the more than 2,000 nuclear tests that followed. And nearly 30 years after the CTBT was concluded, the remaining Annex II states should live up to their responsibilities vis-à-vis the entire international community and ratify the treaty. They and all of us should get inspiration from the way the scientific community looks at the world. It should be a better place. I would like to close by wishing you really all the best for this conference. Whether you are from science or academia, from diplomacy or advocacy, whether you are a young student or a very distinguished, honored guest in the age of 90s. I hope that the path towards scientific excellence, as exemplified by the CTBTO scientific community, will bring us closer to a safer world and a brighter future without nuclear weapons. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Those words reminding us 80 years after the first test that ending nuclear testing isn't just a technical challenge, it's human obligation. Now, our first keynote speaker is Madame Anne-Isabelle Etienne, General Administrator of the French Alternative Agencies and Atomic Energies Commission. She took on the role very recently, and it's an historic appointment, the first woman to lead this organization ever. A physicist by training and a seasoned research leader, she's guided fundamental science and large-scale programs across the CEA, all the while championing women in science. Madame, la parole est à vous.
Madam, you have the floor. Mr. Executive Secretary, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, heads of delegations, and participants at this Science and Technology 2025 conference. As I have recently taken office as the Administrator General of the French Atomic Energy Commission and Commission for Alternative Energies, the CEA, it is an immense joy and honour for me to deliver before you today this keynote speech at this opening session of the Science and Technology Conference. Allow me at the outset, Mr. Executive Secretary, to thank you for this honour for both me and for France, a country that has been continuously supporting the comprehensive nuclear test ban for 30 years. I would like to open my speech with a story because it is the weight and the meaning of stories and history that matters so very much. It is 1955. At the outbreak of the Cold War, the arms race starts and is embodied most tangibly in nuclear weapons tests that are conducted by the US and the Soviet Union. These tests raise many questions. Where do they happen? Are they successful? How much energy is released? The task for governments at a time before satellites in space, and so with no means of distance monitoring, is to be able to detect and characterize such tests, even if they are conducted on the other side of our planet. One French professor, Yves Rocard, accepted this challenge, and he traveled to the office of the CAA in the Parisian suburbs with the very first microbarometer, something he had himself invented. And that is how, in 1956, a microbarometer, which is a device that can measure infinitesimal variations in atmospheric pressure, enabled the detection in Paris of a nuclear test carried out over the Bikini Atoll. And subsequently, the challenges became even greater because there were underground tests that were even more difficult to detect. And so it was necessary to develop new generations of seismographs. And that is what brings us here together today to discuss the implementation of this treaty. We need to make use of established science, but we also need to find new ways of establishing knowledge and technologies that allow us to detect nuclear tests. I'm a physicist, and so this is something that is very close to my heart. Furthermore, and this has been said, in 2026, we'll be celebrating the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of the opening for signature of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, the CTBT. And this coincides with the 30th anniversary of the cessation of French nuclear testing. France fully subscribes to the goals of the treaty, being the very first nuclear weapon state, along with the United Kingdom, to have signed the treaty on the very day of its opening for signature, the 24th of September 1998, and then to have ratified it on the 6th of April 1998. For 30 years now, France has carried out work on the design, safety, and performance of its nuclear weapons through a simulation program. The CTBT is born of political will, the will to forbid completely and forever nuclear weapons test. This is a desire that is not new. It goes back to the very first days of nuclear weapons. It was Indian Prime Minister Nehru, who was the very first head of government to call on the 2nd of April 1954 for a ban on nuclear tests through the promotion of a standstill agreement. I wish that I could say today that we have never been so close to success, but sadly, recent developments mean that there are now not 8, but 9 countries that are missing from the Annex II countries. These are states with nuclear capabilities whose ratification is compulsory for the CTBT to enter into force. With 187 signatures and 178 ratifications, the CTBT remains nonetheless one of the most universal treaties. We have made a priority of the entry into force and the universalization of the CTBT. France calls on all states, especially the Annex II states, to sign and ratify the treaty without delay or precondition. Since signing, along with the Brits, and ratifying the treaty, France's commitment has never been subject to any kind of reservations. We adhered fully to the provisions of the treaty without waiting for its entry into force, and we were the first and only nuclear weapon state to dismantle in a complete, irreversible and verified manner our nuclear test site in the Pacific. 30 years after making that choice, we would act exactly the same way today with the very same will. France has never imagined reconsidering our commitment. We fully subscribe to the goals of the treaty, and also because we have full confidence in the treaty's verification regime. And here at the CTBT, science has been at the service of peace. Without science and without scientists who have developed the concepts, the measurement devices for the detection technologies or the data analysis tools, there would not be any CTBT. If we stop research and scientific reflection, it is the very credibility of the CTBT that we put at risk, and therefore the credibility of its entry into force. Indeed, being able to detect any nuclear weapons test anywhere on the globe in any circumstances is the vital precondition for the implementation of the treaty and its preservation. We need to be able to detect a nuclear weapons test when it is claimed by the state that has conducted it, but we also need to make sure that there are no clandestine nuclear tests, and we need to be able to disprove false claims when they are baseless. In order to do this, the text of the treaty has given us the keys, which are still the keys that guide our work at this Science and Technology Conference. To respond to this challenge, scientists back in 1996 based their work on existing established technologies. But there was an entire field that remained to be explored, namely infrasound. They needed to develop sensors for the specific relevant frequency range. In France, the CEA played a major part in reaching that goal. Our teams have contributed to the development of the very first detection centres in line with the treaty requirements, NB 2000 and 2005. And now the CEA teams are pursuing these efforts in close collaboration with the BIPM, the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, and with the French Metrology Laboratory, LNE, in order to define the very first international standard for the infrasound range relevant for nuclear test detection. Even in areas that we know more about, for example, radio xenon gas measurements, there is work needed to improve our capacity to detect, especially when it comes to environments that sometimes have significant background noise caused by peaceful nuclear activities. Our teams have developed measurement tools that are more precise and effective in order to increase the detection capability for this very specific type of gas. The SPALAX system is a milestone device, and one of these has been lent to the CTBTO's Provisional Technical Secretariat so that CTBTO experts and experts from all state signatories can see its effectiveness for themselves. 3 times a day, it allows for the detection of xenon 131, 133, and 135 with extremely high sensitivity, with a view to identifying any unusual activity. It can then be used to detect any unusual activity. What we have learned over the past 30 years is that developments within the framework of nuclear weapons test monitoring have applications in the daily life of each and every one of us, both directly and indirectly. Let's go back to Professor Rocard, who carried out his research while nuclear testing was spreading around the globe. He was very surprised to note that the seismic centres that he was using to monitor underground testing were able to detect events that were happening further away from Paris, more quickly than those that were closer. And this was due to the fact that seismic waves traveling through the Earth go back to the surface after having bounced off the Earth's core at the very precise angle of 140 degrees. He saw a potential broader scientific application of all of these measurements, contributing to the better understanding of the Earth's internal composition. And this is another important aspect of the CTBTO, the possibility that research and development that has been carried out, coupled with the enormous volume of accumulated data, can contribute to significant progress for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Such benefits are initially direct, because the means deployed and the knowledge that is used serve every day to bolster human security. And the most concrete example, with no doubt, is the major contribution made by the CTBTO in the early detection of earthquakes and the international tsunami warning systems. These benefits can also be indirect, and France is very proud of its contribution via the EU to making available the VDEC portal information. That's the Virtual Data Exploitation Center portal. This data has enabled, inter alia, surveillance of whales and their migration, and could still play a major role in monitoring the consequences of climate change. So we have had 30 years of the CTBTO deploying its international monitoring systems. We haven't finished the task, but we can be pleased to see the 92% level of implementation, and France has been involved. In 2021, or rather in 2020, we completed the building and certification of 16 stations that were under our national responsibility, stations that we operate according to the data availability requirements expressed within the treaty. And these stations can be in very complex locations, tropical, polar, isolated environments, and sometimes have extreme climatic conditions. Each station is a challenge. Each operation at a station is a victory, and such victories are only possible because every day women and men, scientists, technicians, and a whole group of people with different skills bring their efforts together to ensure that these stations operate and that data be transferred and analysed in time and with the required level of expertise. So we might believe that after such success, the job is done, and that our actions are now confined to benefiting from the early deployment of the IMS. But as I have said, we need to preserve these benefits. Each of us knows that technological obsolescence is a real challenge, on top of the normal attrition of technologies. While we work on completing the newest station, we already need to be thinking about refurbishing the oldest one. And the same thing is true for stations, as is true for many technologies. After 30 years in operation, it is often impossible to rebuild an identical facility. Environmental rules and regulations have changed. Technologies have changed. Some are not available anymore. This is a real constraint, and we need to support such refurbishment with technological research and recertification. It's also an opportunity, though. Stations that are refurbished will be more reliable and more robust. And there are also new prospects that could be called exhilarating. Artificial intelligence is poised to deeply transform the way that we understand our verification activities. There is no difference between Professor Rocard, who was working on the first sensor, and the responsibility upon all of us today to pursue the scientific efforts to ensure the proper operation of our stations, and also to ensure that the data emerging from those stations be treated rigorously and efficiently. In conclusion, I would like to say that the French scientific community will continue to strive for the benefit of the treaty. The treaty enjoys France's unwavering support. We are fully committed to a comprehensive nuclear test ban supported by credible and effective verification. Thank you very much. I hope that you have excellent discussions at this conference. And in conclusion, Executive Secretary, allow me to offer you some evidence of our commitment here. And this is something very significant, a tool that I mentioned in this speech. And this is the tool that Professor Rocard, very important scientist for us, developed, whose fundamental principles are still in use today. This is a symbol of the commitment of France, France's indefatigable commitment to the CTBTO. And this is also a symbol of that which brings us here together today, that is used for our mission, for our skills, and for long-term development. Thank you very much.
What a touching moment. And of course, as we look to mark our 30th anniversary, which is a huge milestone for the CTBTO. It's really inspiring to hear how France has really transformed that political commitment into daily scientific practice. Our second keynote speaker is Her Excellency Ms. Sahle Work Zaude, the first woman to serve as the President of Ethiopia, another landmark, a distinguished diplomat. During her tenure as the head of state from 2018 to 2024, she championed inclusive governance, women's empowerment and peace building, and her multilateral leadership roles include some at the United Nations and also as the ambassador of Ethiopia to various countries. Please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Sahle Work Zaude to the stage. Thank you.
Dear Executive Secretary Dr. Floyd, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Floyd, thank you very much for this amazing statement that you just made, which calls on the conscience of each and every one of us. I'm honored to address this important gathering, the 8th Science and Technology Conference on the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, in this amazing setup. I congratulate CTBTO and its Executive Secretary for creating a space where scientists, policymakers, diplomats, academics, and civil society work together with one vision: to build a world that is safer, more cooperative, and more just. This conference exemplifies how dialogue, knowledge, and their interaction with science and technology can serve the cause of peace. As we confront complex, in fact, geopolitical situations, many uncertainties in this world, this gathering serves as a powerful reminder that our greatest hope lies in cooperation, in solidarity, and in shared commitment to a better future for all. Ethiopia is one of the strong and firm supporters of the CTBT and CTBTO. Our dedication is not just abstract, it's tangible and concrete. We host 2 international monitoring system facilities, one already established and certified, and another currently under construction. In addition, our fully operational CTBTO National Data Center is generating data used for verification as well as scientific advancement. Through our contributions, we play a direct and meaningful role in the global verification regime. More importantly, we ourselves benefit. Our people are developing important skills, not only in the management of stations, but in the use of IMS and data for a range of civil and scientific purposes. Ethiopia, as you know, is in a seismically active region. Data from CTBT Auxiliary Station, located in Addis Ababa, together with the accompanying training and technology, have thus proved useful, including in the past weeks where we experienced serious earthquakes. Africa has embraced the CTBT with unity and vision. 52 states on our continent have signed the treaty. That shows our strong support. With only a few left to go, I sincerely hope Africa will be in complete adherence to the treaty very soon. The Treaty of Pelindaba, Africa's nuclear weapon-free zone treaty, signed back in 1996, the same year, in fact, the CTBT opened for signature, includes Article 5, which explicitly prohibits nuclear testing. Beyond its core mission, the treaty's verification technologies deliver vital benefits across the continent, from tsunami and volcano monitoring to tracking climate change effects. These capabilities help governments, scientists, and communities enhance preparedness, improve disaster response, and save lives. Africa's commitment to the treaty reflects its solid historical stance against nuclear weapons and our strong belief that peace and development must go hand in hand. I applaud efforts such as the National Data Centers for All initiative, which I understand is helping to ensure that all states have the opportunity to benefit from and use IMS data if they wish. This commitment to engagement, to openness and transparency, and above all, to ensuring global ownership of the CTBT and its data are really important in ensuring the ongoing commitment of all states, but particularly developing countries. Our efforts for peace and security are incomplete without the full and equal participation of all. We must be intentional in building the next generation of leaders, and that means a firm commitment to diversity, gender equality, and inclusion, particularly in the fields of science and technology that underpin this treaty. I would like to commend CTBTO for what it has done to increase women's participation, representation, in fact, in the organization, and for the initiative of Group of Gender Champions. You are one of them, yes. We must redouble our efforts to ignite a passion for science among young women. This should start as early as high school. We need to have more women part of the global scientific community. This is an imperative necessity to actively empower them and dismantle long-standing barriers. By making this intentional investment, we do more than inspire students. We cultivate, in fact, a deep and diverse well of expertise. This robust pipeline of talent will become the very bedrock of progress in essential global fields, such as disarmament, verification, and scientific diplomacy. Without undermining the huge challenge, especially now, we can then aspire to reduce nuclear threat, to have a world free of nuclear weapons. Initiatives like the CTBTO mentoring program, which supports early career women in STEM from regions including Africa, are not just commendable, but they are really essential. By aligning with the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 5, to empower all women and girls, this program is a practical investment in a more equitable and effective global security architecture. When we support women in STEM, we unlock and strengthen the very foundations of our data verification regime. This is how we ensure the CTBT's mission remains vibrant and relevant for the future. This commitment actually is very personal to me. Throughout my career as a national and international civil servant, and as the first woman to hold the office of president, I have frequently been the sole voice and sometimes feeling loneliness. I have seen firsthand how diversity of thought and experience leads to stronger, more resilient policies. It brings indispensable depth to our diplomacy and a richer understanding to science. This is why I have prioritized, and just to let you know a few of what I have been doing in that regard, is to have a leadership program where mid-career women from all corners of the country received training in leadership, and also the necessity to have more women in STEM. a mentorship and tutoring program where young girls from the university and few boys benefited from experience guidelines. The path for women in leadership, especially in technical peace and security fields, remains under construction. Navigating it requires immense resilience, but is not enough. It requires dedicated allies and robust structured support systems, precisely the one that CTBTO's mentoring program provides. By championing these efforts, we're not just ticking a box, we are actively building a more capable and representative global community to secure our shared goals. We therefore call upon all states that have not yet done so to sign and ratify the treaty without delay. The credibility of our collective commitment to peace depends on it. Let us leave this conference reinvigorated by our mission. Let us commit not only to the entry in force of this crucial treaty, but also to build a movement that is inclusive, forward-looking, and powered by the best of our scientific and human potential. A world free of nuclear testing can be within our reach. Let us work together to make it a reality. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Madam President, for highlighting not just Africa's very important role in banning and monitoring nuclear testing, but also the importance of including women and the next generation in carrying this work forward. Now to our special addresses, and the first one is a video message. A tireless advocate for disarmament, Ms. Izumi Nakamitsu has served as the UN's High Representative since 2017 for disarmament affairs, if I'm not mistaken. She's also led divisions in UN peacekeeping, humanitarian responses, and even taught international relations in Japan. Her work bridges policy, academia, and field operations. Today, she will share a message to the screen to my left about the importance of bringing our, what the ES calls precious treaty, the CTBT, into force so that we can see its full benefits. Let's take a listen together.
Executive Secretary Floyd, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to send this video message to the 8th CTBT Science and Technology Conference. Now in its 8th iteration, this conference continues to prove its relevance. Developments in the science and technology fields are accelerating rapidly. From AI to ICTs to biotechnologies, technological developments are redefining how we work, educate, socialize, and communicate. Such developments bring with them many benefits. Digital technologies have the potential to play a catalytic role in supporting UN member states to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Emerging technologies like AI also present incredible opportunities in areas like health and education, from diagnosing diseases more effectively to enabling inclusive virtual learning environments. These technologies also have the potential to be used in support of conflict prevention, peace building, and the promotion of inclusive and human-centered approaches. In the context of nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation objectives, they may assist by improving verification, such as advanced radiation detection systems and machine learning algorithms for data analysis. The CTBT verification regime is a tangible example of how science and technology can generate concrete benefits for international peace and security. As Executive Secretary Floyd has pointed out, the global moratorium against nuclear testing derives strength from the continuous development of the CTBTO's verification system. The International Monitoring System, IMS, is one such example. Its transparent and independent data helps to establish confidence and trust and bolsters the moratorium on nuclear testing. Yet, we cannot afford to ignore or downplay the risks we face. The use of rapidly advancing technology in armed conflict, such as ICTs, AI, armed UAVs, and autonomous systems, can negatively affect conflict dynamics and cause tremendous harm to civilians and civilian infrastructure. We are already seeing recent conflicts becoming testing grounds for AI applications. Incidents of malicious use of ICTs, both by state and non-state actors, also continue to be well documented. Armed UAVs, too, have increasingly been used in ways that cause harm to civilian populations. And quantum technologies are expected to challenge current cryptographic infrastructure. Including infrastructure provide.
Every country faces its own set of challenges, Dembrel. I've heard it gets very cold in Mongolia. Tell us about it.
Thank you, Sanam. Very good question. Of course, IMS station, to maintain these stations in Mongolia, it's not easy job because of very cold in wintertime and very hot in summertime. And it's not easy for technicians, engineers to provide technical service there. And I would like just to say one example. I was together with engineers and technicians to go to the site to fix technical problem. It was winter, late December. Outside was very cold. It's approximately minus 32 degrees Celsius outside, and it was very windy. It's of course it's cold, it's a problem, but windy, cold, it's big problem. And when technicians climbed to the pylon to the fix problem, to fix technical problem in the antenna, and when two hands with tools and very cold, even this technician has nasal mucus, which one frozen. But anyway, they are fixing this problem. It was a very difficult job. And I would like using this opportunity to express our thanks to all technicians and engineers who is operating IMS stations everywhere very well. Thank you there. Thank you to all technicians.
Thank you, Dembrel. A reminder of the resilience behind this network and the work that goes into it, of course. Now, Novella, to you, while the challenges in South Africa are a little bit different, you have the same spirit of problem solving.
Yes, no, definitely. If I can just recall the few challenges that we've encountered in the past, and one of them is, for example, where our primary station is located. It's an area which is very far from where the actual monitoring is happening, and it's an area that has a lot of lightning activities. But fortunately, the intervention for the CTBTO, we are now at a point where a grounding solution has been implemented, which basically diverts the lightning to the ground away from the station, and the station is now operating great without the interference from the lightning. Another challenge is with the instability in power generation that we've been facing in the past. And fortunately, things are getting a little bit better. But as a solution to that, we've had to install solar panels to ensure that there's no interruption with the running of the station.
Thank you, Novella. Power outages, electrical issues, lightning, none of these are, of course, exclusive to the countries that are represented here. We have heard these before. It's just very much about the innovative solutions that they come up with. And of course, Farushka, Namibia is no exception.
Yes, definitely. So sustainment has been a journey for us. And I'd like to look at sustainment in this way that it's not a once-off thing, you know, Sanam. It's something where you do this and then something else pops up. And that's certainly been the case for us. So in 2020, our station totally collapsed and the vaults were flooding. There were like geckos and snakes getting inside. There was theft and vandalism. And we decided to go with that with like a total refurbish of it. We've decided to redo the vaults, put new digitizers, new equipment, and that was fine and great, but it still didn't solve the problem of vandalism. And so we had to obviously intervene again. And we ended up to, South Africa's using solar power. Well, that didn't work for us. We had to go with AC current, and that also posed its own challenges going from AC and the equipment using direct current. So I'd like to think of it that every station has struggles and we get to learn from each other. I sure have learned a lot from our fellow panelists.
Thank you, Farushka. I think I love what Farushka just said because it's an important point. Sustainment isn't just a one-off fix. It's work in progress. It's a cycle of adapting, testing, and perhaps innovating that really gets the system up and running. Thank you, Farushka. Now, just as it is vital to keep our facilities up and running smoothly, what really matters is the access to the data. Access, reliability, and sharing. And that nicely brings us to the next topic that I'd like to address. We know the data is gathered by our IMS facilities, peppered across the planet. They're sent to the International Data Center in Vienna. They're shared in near real time with our state signatories. Now, Novella, from South Africa's side, how straightforward is it for you to access that data?
Of course, there's challenges, but I'm proud to say that with the recent capacity building system that we received in April this year for our NDC, which was established many, many years ago. So what that means is that the data that we are receiving from CTBTO is now accessible to the researchers from the universities, the researchers within the Council for Geoscience, which we have seen a growing interest in the data, and we've had sites also to the amazing research that they are busy conducting. So that's where we are. We've opened our doors to the general public, to everyone, to come and access the data. And one thing that's also interesting recently is that we've also been approached by our neighboring countries, and I think it's through the collaborations and the relationships that we are fostering here at CTBTO, because now we are at a stage where we see the need to conduct workshops where we can learn together how to use this data, how to access this data, and develop amazing products from it.
Thank you, Novella. And I think we all agree that capacity building really is at the heart of our work. Dembrel, how challenging or straightforward is it? I know you're a man of data, you called yourself once. So tell us about Mongolia's experience.
Data. Data is important.
It is important.
It's important. And it's important from completeness side. It's first important to be to send complete data, and second, it's data quality. It's a really important thing. And Mongolian stations is very good stations, very sending very high quality data. And by the way, Mongolian land, it's not so it's far from industrial area. It's a very clear natural geophysical laboratory. And data from our IMS station is usually very high quality. And the completeness is more than 98%. And of course, it's first. And second, it's a good free access to IMS data. It's really important for scientists and who is doing scientific research work using this data. And also, it's many tools also processing this data. It's also very useful and very important.
Thank you very much for that, Dambrel. Who wants to go next? Bashila, what about you? I know that you've mentioned before there have been some challenges with Malaysia, electricity outages, power outages. How does that impact you receiving and processing the data?
Okay, about the electricity, I share about our station first, yeah? Okay, like at the station also, we also have outage of power. So how we did it, we have built a generator set that will help the station, because our station RN42 radio monitoring station is located at the tourist spot. So during the peak hour, peak season, so we have a very difficulty with the electricity. So this is, we need to make sure that the station run properly, because like Dambrel said, that the importance of the quality data with the quality. So about the electricity with our national data center as well, when we have every time we have electricity problem, then the server will down, and this is the problem that we are facing. How we to make sure the continuity of the data receiving from the CTBT. And we are so thankful that we have a very good team from the engineering in our agency who will make sure that we can recover again, so that we can recover the data that we lost. And it's very helpful to our analysts as well.
Thank you, Bashila. Many systems in place. What about you, Farushka? Where does Namibia stand with data access? And can you give us maybe some examples of where data coming from Namibia has really proven its worth and has really contributed perhaps to detecting some of our events?
Definitely. So data accessibility, let me first start by saying that we just got our station up and running. We've just, not up and running, but stable, should I say. We've done the refurbishment that needs to be done. We've actually got it to a point where it's transmitting good quality data. And I'm very happy for that. I'm very proud of that. But we still, unfortunately, due to us focusing on getting the station to a certain level, has caused our NDC to collapse. But I'm so thankful for the initiative of the ES. We are busy looking into that, the NDC for all, and hopefully we can revive our national data center, which would, I think, which will be a vital role in accessing data. It will make it so much more easier. But amidst all the hurdles and struggles, we were actually able to pick up and contribute to detecting the test done in 2017 by North Korea. And that was something I got so excited about, because just seeing that it actually works, the hard work that you put in actually works, and something was, you know, you could see something from so far away. That was really good to see, and an amazing experience to be part of that.
Thank you, Farushka. Of course, excited that the system's not working, not necessarily about those nuclear test explosions.
Definitely, definitely.
Now, we know the CTBTO places a great deal of importance on capacity building and training. Earlier, Nomvelo made a few references to that. And we have everything from training and courses for national data centers to e-learning programs to make sure that our state signatories are fully using both IMS technology and accessing the data, the two topics that we've been covering so far. And I know on top of that, a few of you, I'm looking at you two ladies here, have been very much involved in also nurturing new talent, whether that's yourselves or future generations. Dambrel, let's start with you, our gentleman on the panel. How has training and capacity building figured into Mongolia's success with the IMS?
Yeah, training and workshops and seminars is very important activity of CTBTO, very helpful. I remember the beginning of 2000 years, when we just started send somebody to training courses. It was just beginning. And even this level of our staff, junior scientists, was not so high. But after 20 years, this level of our scientists is really increased, significantly increased, because of these important training courses, workshops, and seminars organized by CTBT. And of course, many thanks to everybody who contributed, who gave lecture, who prepared common exercises to our young scientists. Because of this good job from these people, and we received, especially our young scientists received very good knowledge, very good lessons, and it helped us a lot. It helped us to increase our this scientific capacity.
Thank you, Dembral. Just before the high level kicked off, Dembral and I were having a conversation. He mentioned that, yes, they built their capacity, but some of these experts have even improved their language skills. So I think that deserves double credit.
This is exactly true. And even I remember in the beginning of installation time in Mongolia, I was speaking almost no English. My English language was almost in the beginning level. But because of this installation of IMS station in Mongolia, because of this big installation work together with French colleagues, and we started to learn language. Not only me, it's all our staff, all junior scientists, and today almost all people speak fluent English language.
Thank you. Namvela, what about South Africa? I know you have a similar role. Maybe that does deserve a round of applause, actually. I decided that Dembral was going to be our inspirational speaker on the panel. I'm the boring one, making it technical. He makes it more human. We have wonderful balance here, I think. Namvela, I know you're in a similar position to Dembral, excuse me, more of a leadership position, but your staff are certainly benefiting from some of these capacity building opportunities.
Yes, no, definitely. Myself, recently, earlier on, I spoke about the capacity building systems training that we recently received, and I myself, I was a beneficiary to that. But besides that, our colleagues, our scientists have had several trainings, both conducted by the CTBTO and the other partners of CTBTO. Just to mention a few, it dates back starting from 2017 up until now. We've had colleagues who have attended several trainings for the NDC. We've had our station operators getting equipped with the training, and not just CTBTO, but also other countries like America. They've assisted us a lot in ensuring that they are at a level that's required for CTBTO. And also, for example, in 2023, two of our scientists managed to get training on the infrasound station data analysis, which they received the training in the UK. So what I can just say, through the collaborations again and the relationships that are fostered by CTBTO, our colleagues and scientists are able to benefit from that. And what we are trying to do as South Africa is to ensure that more and more of young scientists, they get this training, particularly the women, as that it is the focus for CTBTO to equip the women, and also to ensure that our future generations are better equipped to participate in the activities and the monitoring of nuclear weapon testing.
Thank you, Namvela. Speaking of women scientists, we have the next gen right next to me. I'm feeling very old right now. Farushka, you told me that capacity building is something you hold very close to your heart. Yes, you're the next generation, but you're also working on the next gen after you.
Definitely. So first of all, I am a product of capacity building. I've went through a number of hands that I saw in this audience, and you know, coming into this, I always say I feel like I fell into it. Like I didn't know that this field exists. I kind of stumbled into it, and it's been amazing to learn, but it's also been terrifying. You're exposed to things that you never thought was even possible, that existed. And with that, it has made me realize that pouring into the future is very important. And what I mean by that is, yes, scientists get trained. We come here for training on analyzing data and how to use the equipment. But my heart and my passion have been at, what about this girl or the boy that's in class right now? Just a regular school day. And I've been working with Ms. Zenzi Avases from the Mining Association, Women's Mining Association in Namibia. And we've been trying to reach out to school kids, because if you can plant the seed that early, imagine if they get to college to having to choose career paths. It's a done deal. The seed is already planted. It's already developed into a little sprout that can just flourish. So that has been my passion and where my heart has been at. Being a mother of two, that's also been very important for me. So that's how I see capacity building in my view.
Thank you, Farishka. Really underlining there what the Executive Secretary said earlier in his opening statement. It's as much, if not more so, about investing into the people as it is about the technology and the tools that we have at our disposal. Bashila, tell us about the numbers.
Okay, this number is really give me a proud. For your information, Malaysia, we have extended from only 3 analysts. Now we are managed to have 20 analysts.
Can we get a round of applause on that? 3 to 20, that's a lot.
And among that 20 analysts, we have nearly 50% is a woman. So we are so happy about it. So, but when come the sweet, that's a challenge. How we want to train these 20 analysts. So this is where the importance of the capacity building. And then thank you to the CTBTO for providing us with a good training program and also the framework. So which really helps us, especially during the working group B, which really gave me an idea how I can help Malaysia to help our analysts. So from this, we know, I always say to my people, my colleague, that we cannot work alone. So how we can, what is the strategy that we can take? So during the discussion, we say, we need to tag out Malaysia with other advanced country. This is where we explore all the possibility with other country in our region. And I don't know, I can say this, but I really thanks to the government of Australia for support us with the capacity building. And this capacity building program, we have developed a train the trainers program. So maybe there's no specific program for Malay language. So we need to develop ourselves. So through the train the trainers, what we did is we train our analysts who, then these analysts will help to help out the analysts. Maybe they can teach in Malay language, or also this will give them more understanding about all the terms in the CTBT. And also we have Australia really helps us with to develop the program through the online e-learning, meaning that we train our analysts during the lunch hour through the e-learn through the online. So this only take about 1 to 2 hours, and then from this training, our analysts can understand more the basic about the 4 technologies in the CTBT. So yeah, it's very good. So we have seen the result now, which our government start to give a convince to our analysts when anything happen in regionally, they will come to our national data center and ask for advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Bashila. It really does sound like across the board, investing in people is a huge thing. And We actually heard references to other state signatories that are supporting the countries represented on this panel, going back to collaboration at the heart of our work. Now, I want to shift the focus. This is one of my favorite topics. When I first started working for the CTBTO 4 years ago in 2 days, when I left the world of journalism, I saw this amazing report about scientists and researchers discovering a new population of pygmy blue whales using our data. I find that very exciting. Now, I want to go to all of you and get maybe some examples of how your different countries are using our data for civil and scientific purposes. I know Namibia has been having some challenges with access data, but you're working through that. Tell me about the prospects, Farushka.
So yes, we have been having the challenges, but that has given us the ability to also dream and plan for the future. And we've kind of been taking baby steps at it. Ms. Marcos Itali is here, and she is a wonderful seismologist that has been kind of heading this idea where we've been getting minor earthquake and tremors, and the public would call us and tell us, like, listen, we felt something shaking, is what's happening? And we found that quite frankly embarrassing, that the public should call in and tell us about it. So we've come up with a way that the data automatically gets filtered and then it peaks. So it would send a notification to our public relations officer and Ms. Sitali, and then they can verify if this was really an event or not, and we could be the first to set out the news instead of the other way around. So it's baby steps, but we have a lot of plans, and hopefully at platforms like this, I'll get to meet a lot of people where we can discuss brilliant ideas and ways forward for us, but it's exciting.
From dreams to the other side of the spectrum, Malaysia, Bashila, already very much using the data that is coming from our wonderful system.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that for Malaysia case, first we use the data for the tsunami early warning system. This is where we have an agreement with the CTBTO on using the data CTBT for the tsunami early warning system. And also we use the CTBT data for the socio-economy, meaning that we make sure that the data can help our community. For example, we have developed a mapping, radiological monitoring mapping, which will give the government to give information to the public. Let's say if there any accident in the region, like because of the earthquake in the country, that with the nuclear, because Malaysia is surrounded by country with a nuclear power program, and also we are very prone to the earthquake. So when there's any earthquake, there will be a worry among the public whether it impact Malaysia environment or not. So what our national data center did is we will do the monitoring, and then we will look at the trend whether the radionuclide come to Malaysia environment or not. So this radiological mapping is really help our government to give answer to the public, to give them peaceful in mind. Yeah, and yeah, also, and we also now are very active with one of our researcher doing a research on the monsoon prediction. So he using the data from the CTBT to predict the monsoon, because monsoon also is one of the problem with our country, the tropical country. And for the future, there's a request from our partner that asks us to study on the prediction of the movement of the radiological to the environment. So we are planning to do it in future, and hopefully with the help with the scientists from all around the world to help us to make this come true. So it's a very good deal for Malaysia.
Wonderful. An array of examples when it comes to contributing to disaster preparedness there, Bashila. Dembrel, I understand that IMS data has also been helping Mongolia deepen its understanding of seismic hazards and earthquakes. Am I correctly informed, sir?
Yes. Not so many people know that Mongolian territory is seismically active. We had in 20th century 4 major earthquakes with magnitude more than 8. It's huge earthquakes. And it's really important for scientists of Mongolia to study seismicity of Mongolia and of course IMS data and data from these IMS stations in Mongolia, very helpful for that. And also we are using this data to develop seismic hazard map of Mongolia. And particularly we are developing seismic hazard map for capital city, Ulaanbaatar city. And we are using all IMS data for these research studies. It's very helpful.
Thank you very much. And what about South Africa, Nambela?
So with South Africa, first and foremost, the CTBT or network that we have in the country, we have incorporated it into our national network. So, but fortunately for South Africa, we sit on a very stable, quite stable tectonic plate, but unfortunately, we host some of the deepest mines, which that comes with quite a number of seismicity. So there's many applications for the data that we receive from the stations. So the data is contributing towards earthquake monitoring throughout the country and the neighboring countries. And also what is great about it is that we are also using the data to contribute towards the tsunami early warning, Indian Ocean Tsunami Early Warning Systems Committee, which we are part of at Council for Geoscience. So the data is used in a whole host of areas, research. There's interesting research that's coming up from different areas in South Africa within the Council for Geoscience and outside Council for Geoscience. And also, just like Mongolia, we are also using it to develop products like your hazard systems, which are assisting us greatly, and yeah, many other research areas.
Thank you, Nambela. Now, as we approach the end of the session, I want to finish with a quick fire round question. They kept asking me for the question. I wouldn't give it to them. We've been playing around with this. Imagine it's 10 years from now. I'm hopefully retired somewhere. The IMS has been completed. It's operating at its full potential.
Sanam, perhaps this question is for 10 years from now.
In just a sentence or two, tell me what it is that excites you about that future. Let's start with Novella. One sentence or two, work your way down.
Oh, the future is looking good for me. Through the work of CTBTO, I believe that the world will be a safer place, most definitely, once CTBTO achieves what it's trying to do.
Tambrel.
Can I speak the last one?
Absolutely, Bashila.
Sana, you give a very tough question.
It's a good one.
Because after 10 years, I will be using this stick again. But yes, like what our colleague from South Africa mentioned, that we hope that the world will be more peaceful, not only from the disaster, but also, and of course, from the man-made disaster. So hopefully whatever the objective that the CTBT are looking for will be achieved. And also that all of us will have a one voice on the ban of the nuclear test. There will be no more nuclear tests in this world. And also all the young generation can have a very peaceful life without worrying about the nuclear weapon or whatsoever. Yeah.
Well, I had time to dream, so I have a whole bunch of things I can mention. But first of all, hopefully I'm not retired by then, close to retirement, not retired yet. Well, what I look forward to is a established NDC. I look forward to our team also going from less than 10 to 20 like Bashila's, and using the data, coming up with innovative studies, and just young people pioneering and taking lead and, you know, just being excited about the possibilities that this data, these technologies bring. I also look forward to these topics being handled in schools because right now, or at least the background I come from, these are not topics that are discussed in schools. So just having the information there, having everybody exposed to this kind of information would be my look for the future.
Thank you, Farishka. Dembrel, may we come to you, sir?
Yeah, 10 years later, we will be 10 years older, it's true. And I hope that, I very hope that this treaty will be enforced. And we will be never have again any nuclear explosion in the world. That's I very hope. But for that, we are working today. And just, I would like to conclude I would like to say some text from one song. It's about one family. Many languages and many generations, many culture or even colored skin. Each of us is God's beautiful creation. From the bottom of our heart, we love each other. We are one big family here. The family name is CTBT. Thank you.
As we wrap up, I'd like to thank our wonderful panelists because, I mean, the words were inspiring, they shared their perspectives, but as you saw, a lot of that came from the heart. Now, we don't want the conversation to end here. This is just the beginning. Please continue in the hallways and the side events and well beyond SNT. Now, one final round of applause for our panelists as they take their seats again in the audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now to you, our wonderful audience, both here and online, thank you so much for staying engaged as far as my short-sighted eyes can see in the first few rows. Thank you for being with us. It's been an incredible opportunity to explore some of the main themes of SNT. Now, we'll welcome you back here to the festival later today for something I'm very much looking forward to. Today's Minds, Tomorrow's Innovators. It's a panel. It'll tackle very important issues of equity, both gender and generation. Later, we'll be exploring the theme of extreme environments when it comes to the international monitoring system. And the high-level day will end with a special session on the European Union's engagement with the CTBT and, of course, the launch of our CTBTO youth group. That's not all. We have many sessions happening in parallel, but first things first, lunch. You've all been very patient with me, listening to my voice. I hope you don't have to do that ever again. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. And we end on what we started with, verification today, tomorrow, together. Thank you. you.